Just a second before. There we go.
Just let me know when you want me to begin.
Okay. I will. We are good. So welcome. It's 6:31. Let's give it till like 6:33 and just see how many people hop on. As we're waiting, and hopefully everybody's clicked on the English or the Spanish pre-test. It's 2 minutes long. I think it's 7 questions. We will be giving a post-test, which is like 5 questions, and they're really easy. And then we'll do a drawing for 2 $25 gift cards that we'll be giving away. So I'm going to keep saying that so people keep taking the test. Ms. Flora, I'm going to ask that you make sure you ask people too once we start. So we had almost 90 people register. Let me see where we're at right now. We're at 21. Yeah, let's give it a couple more minutes. My name, we'll go ahead and kind of just get the basics. Where can I locate the test? So in the chat, do you see it in the chat, Christian? Let me send it really quick to you just to make sure. There you go. All right, let's try it. Okay, Christian, let me make sure I get you. How about that? Want to make sure everybody sees the pre-test. Yours is not working. Raina, wow.
I can go ahead and put up the QR code. It's part of my presentation. Would you like me to share my?
Why don't you do that? Why don't, let's try it this way. If Ms. Flora can put it up as part of her presentation. And it said error. Okay, let's try Flora's and let's see if it works. We'll give it one more good old try, and then if not, the grand experiment will be over.
Could you guys see it or no?
We can't see your.
Oh, maybe because I need to share my screen.
Yeah, that would be good. So welcome everybody. My name is Beth Bird. I'm the executive director. Oh, it worked this time. Good, yay, Raina. I'm with the Autism Society with our fabulous part of our team tonight. So Melissa, who usually runs this, is on vacation. As I told the group earlier, you guys can all tell Melissa what a bad job I did next month. So, but you're in for a treat. We've got Flora Martinez, who is our newest employee. I'm proud to say that she's joined our team. Just a wonderful advocate for many, many years in the community. She's going to share information with you that I've had a chance to peek at the presentation. I think it's great information. I wish I would have had it when my son was younger. So hopefully we can get some good information out of it. And then we'll have time to do questions at the end. Is that correct, Flora?
Yes.
Okay. And as always, we have Spanish interpretation. So if you can make sure you click the interpretation button and choose either English or Spanish. And then that way, if somebody has a question in Spanish, we can all hear it on the English station. We are recording this, so we'll send it out afterwards. And I'm sure Ms. Flora will be happy to share her presentation. So we'll always do that. Ms. Anel also, she went dark, but I was going to introduce her, who is our amazing program coordinator. There she is. So many of you, if you email anything about events, it's usually Anel. So she was grateful or gracious enough to get this all organized for us. So thank you, Ms. Anel. And then Ms. Liliana, who is doing the interpretation tonight and does so much of our translation. So I'm so grateful to all of you guys to make this work. So with that, all right, I think I stalled enough. We're up to 26, so I am going to turn it over to you, Miss Flora. I'm going to go dark, but if you need anything, I'll be here, and then I can hop on for the question and answer at the end. So if you guys have any questions, just write it up in the chat or the Q&A, and try to get them all then. So, all right, take it away, Miss Flora.
Well, I first want to go ahead and thank you guys for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. It is an honor for me to work with such a wonderful group. I'm very blessed to be surrounded by many advocates. So sorry if my screen is all over the place, but so again, my name is Flora Martinez, and I became an active member in our community when my son, like all of us do, we all struggle to obtain services for our kiddos. He was diagnosed at age 2, but we began regional services out here in California when he was 4. He's 22 now, and we're still trying to get him up to speed, but it's a never-ending story. So yeah. So that's who I am. And I really want this to be a very informal kind of webinar. So if you guys have any questions or anything, you guys could put them in the chat. I know Ms. Anel could hopefully assist me in reading some of these questions for me, because I will be asking if anybody has questions throughout the presentation. Oh, I'm sorry. Siri thinks I'm talking to her. But so let's begin. This is a pretest that Ms. Beth was talking about. Hopefully everybody got a chance to fill it out. If not, please get your phones out and see if you can scan that QR code so you could get that started. So the 3 main objectives I want you guys to walk away with tonight is the difference between early start. When does that begin? When is the cutoff of that? Because a lot of people sometimes get confused that early starts from 0 to 5. Then the Lanterman services, when did that begin and how does that work in the whole umbrella of the regional center? How regional center functions and how to ask for services. I know sometimes it's not easy. We don't have the right terminology for it. But thankfully, like Ms. Beth said, we wish we had these resources back in the day, because thankfully there's a lot of pamphlets, brochures and stuff that could teach us the terminology that we need to use in order to make our request better understood. So so those are the 3 objectives that I'm hoping that you guys all walk away with tonight, understanding all of that. So what is early start? So it is a 0 to 3. The children, the infants through toddler age. And usually when parents see any delay, I know I could read this verbatim, but like Ms. Beth said, if you guys want a copy of this presentation, I'm more than glad to send it to you guys. And hopefully Ms. Liliana later on might be able to translate it for those who speak Spanish. You have it in your language. But once you have a baby, we're all ecstatic and everything. And we sometimes hope that they grow up of some of the, they grow out of, not grow up, they grow out of some of the delays that we see. For example, like the speech, crawling, sitting up, things of that nature. But if you don't see them reaching those milestones, then concern rises. But a lot of parents, hopefully nowadays they don't, but it is seen more than what we like. You would need to see if you have a suspicion. I would just suggest go ahead and call your regional center, because they could go ahead and do evaluations. And these services, again, are you have to meet 25% of the cognitive and thinking learning category, the expressive, the receptive, the social emotional, the adaptive, and physical and motor. So it's just 25% of the of these categories that your baby will be delayed, that you could go ahead and just call in, and an assessment can be done. Another area that could trigger an assessment is when you have established risk factors. So those are the ones examples that I put here. There's significant birth injuries, exposure to drugs and alcohol. The third section is when the risk factors have already been identified, or the developmental delay already has been identified. And these are situations like Down syndrome, Fragile X syndrome, and fetal alcohol syndrome, for example. For more information, I just put the link of where I got that information. I don't know if my cursor is covering it, but it's from a handbook that they provided. So what is Lanterman services? So Lanterman services is actually an act. So the purpose of this law is to make sure that our children who are identified with developmental delays really have equal access to those individuals in comparison to those individuals who do not suffer from any developmental delays. So the difference with this is that you can go ahead and be identified. For example, if your son has autism and he doesn't get identified until the 6 years when he's 6 or she's 6, you could still apply for regional center, but you would go under the category of the Lanterman Act versus the Early Start. Early Start is the service model does look different than once you qualify under the category of Lanterman. So they're very specific on how you qualify. So there's 5 areas, which is cerebral palsy, intellectual disabilities, autism, epilepsy, and the 5th category usually is like when you have a very severe case and they don't really fit under that criteria. You usually find, like, if they have severe speech delay, things of that nature, you can go ahead and advocate for the 5th category for your child to get services.
Miss Laura, sorry. We need Liliana, our interpreter, to sign in and out. So can we just take a brief moment because it's breaking up, and we want to make sure that people who speak Spanish can hear all this great information that you have. So we'll have her do that. I'll do a pop quiz on everybody while we're waiting. So you're really going to hate me. So true or false? California is the only state that has regional center services. So just put it in the chat. What do you think? True or false? Let's see. They're coming in.
It's actually a really good question.
Yeah, let's see. Waiting for a couple more. Well, kind of like 50-50, huh? Let's see. All right. So the answer is true. California is the only state that has regional center services. Right now, the average wait time in other states is 5 years for what they call Medicaid services, like what we get through regional center. And it's not open to, there's very long waiting lists. So that was my fun fact. All right, let's see how Miss Liliana is doing. Let me say, how are we doing? All right, let's try another one. There's how many, 58 counties? Is that true in California?
Yeah, I think so. 50. I think it's a little less.
Okay, how many regional centers are there in California? So take a guess. Yep, there's 58 counties. We got some good guesses there. Let's see.
You see, the wonderful thing about working with such great people is that they get to co-pilot with you.
Yes, exactly. Very close. Lisa's, I think, the closest. So the real answer is 21. So even though that there's 58 counties, there's 21 regional centers. So of course, Inland has both San Bernardino and Riverside. But places up in like far Northern California may have 5 counties because it's so spread out and not such a big population. And then LA County has, I think, 4 or 5 regional centers just for LA County. So that was pretty good. You guys are smart. All right, let's see. I think we're still working on getting the interpreter. The interpreter. All right, let's do one more while we're waiting. True or false? The federal government pays for all the regional center services. So what do you think? Does all that money come from the federal government, the state government, or both? A lot of falses on this one. Yeah, this is good. Oh, you guys are a smart crew. So yes, that was kind of a trick question. The answer is it does come from federal and state money. So I believe about 40, let's say 42% of it comes from the federal, but California pays for the rest of our regional center services. It comes out of general funds. So that's why California is the only state to have regional center services. They believed enough in developmental disabilities and providing services to these individuals that they make up the budget deficit so we could pay for it. So pretty good. All right, let me check. Miss Anel, how are we doing with Liliana?
I just texted her. I'm waiting for her to reply.
Okay.
Another fun fact was that, and I thought in the very beginning when I was obtaining regional center services, that they were a government agency. Come to find out they're nonprofit. And even though they're all under the umbrella of the 21, and they're governed by DDS, every regional center has its own way of doing things. So that was an interesting thing to learn also.
Yes, that's a good point, because it is easy to get confused with especially the amount of budgets that they have. I've heard stories, I'm probably a little older than most of you, but I've heard stories of the parents who bothered, I believe it was Senator Lanterman, and that's what Lanterman Act is named after, because these parents wanted something for their kids and they would go to his office and follow him around and plea and plea and plea, and finally he listened. And that's why it's the Lanterman Act is after this legislator who listened to parents, but this was something driven by parents, which I always take encouragement from. They made a huge difference for my son, somebody that wasn't even born when they were working on this. So what's that quote? A few people can make a difference in the world.
Yeah, it's definitely a movement.
It is.
Still going on strong. It's never ending.
All right. I know we do have people taking advantage of how are we doing, Miss Anel?
She's saying it's not letting her back in. I gave her the meeting ID number and the passcode, and it's not allowing her to come in or to join.
Let me try. Go ahead and go, Ms. Flora, and let me work on the transition, okay?
Yeah, I can go ahead and see if I can do my best and speak Spanish too after, but I don't speak it very well.
Oh, well.
You do a great job.
We have a question, so maybe you can answer this question. What is the relationship or not between IRC and, you're saying, SART? So these are the SART centers in San Bernardino.
Mhm.
Is that what you're referring to, Lisa? I just want to make sure. Yes. Do you know the answer, Ms. Farr, or do you want me to take that one?
Go ahead and take that one.
Yeah, so there's not a formal relationship other than SART is one of the agencies that would refer children who have, of course, developmental delays over to Early Start or Regional Center services. But they would be treated as a medical provider, just like Loma Linda or Rady's or any other entity. Oh, Laura, you're right. Thank you. I actually don't know what SART stands for. So IRC is Inland Regional Center. And
earlier too.
yeah, the SART centers. Let me see. In San Bernardino. I actually looked it up because we're on a committee with somebody who works with the SART Center, and they couldn't remember what it stood for either. But basically the SART Center in San Bernardino, there's not an equivalent in Riverside County, was done with First Five and Department of Behavioral Health and Children's Fund. And it's for children whose women were born in alcohol or drug abuse. And that these children get screenings and are referred to proper places for therapy. It's actually one of the issues that we're working on, is because what's happening is sometimes the drug babies or the alcohol babies can look like they have autism. And so they may get an autism diagnosis by some pediatrician who's not familiar with all the history, or just not that familiar with drug and alcohol and autism. And then they get referred over to like an ABA company when it's really not autism. It's really more about the drug and alcohol exposure. So it's one of the issues we're also working on. Oh, thank you, Tamar. I appreciate that. Yes, it wasn't intentional, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. So you're right. I appreciate. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try to get Liliana on, and go ahead with the presentation, Miss Flora, and let me see if
She's coming on.
Oh, she is. You got
She's
her?
logging on now.
Oh,
Yeah, she's on the screen. All right, are you on, Liliana? Can you hear us?
Yep, I see her. And it looks like she's already on as interpreter.
Okay, great.
So we're great. All right, we're all set. Thank you guys for being patient.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ms. Beth, for making it so entertaining. So the next. So what's the difference between Early Start and Lanterman? I think I touched base on it a little while ago. But again, the Early Start is from 0 to 3. You don't necessarily have to have a disability already identified. So you can go ahead and begin early interventions if you meet the criteria. So what happens once you're found eligible for those services is that they need to conduct, they have a timeline, and they need to conduct, finalize everything within 45 days. And IFSP is created, and usually it's like a plan where you establish goals that you want your child to meet, like milestones that you want your child to achieve. And usually the individual family support plan, that's what IFSP stands for, they usually meet every 6 months. Versus the Lanterman Act, again, if you are of age 3 and you're still finding of age 3, you're still not identified with a disability, but you still need those services, usually regional centers refer to the school system. Okay, so there's where the early, and then they take over for the early interventions, which is 3 to 5. But it could continue, it could continue depending on the needs of the child, or it could go ahead and they could probably only qualify for like speech or physical therapy, for example, things of that nature. Sometimes they graduate from the IEP process, but if they don't, if the parents feel that there's still something missing, that they're still, or he's still not, or the child is still not meeting those milestones, then further assessments can be done through the school district, and then you can revisit regional centers to see if the deficits are enough qualifying, if that criteria meets the eligibility requirements, and you can start services through regional center once again. If you go into early start and you already have a disability, it's like it's an ongoing disability, so you're under a Lanterman Act. So there's kind of like 3, it's overlapping, but these are the numbers that you call Riverside and County and San Marino for you to go ahead and start the intake process. They also have a new system online, which I thought it was pretty neat, where you just fill out your information and the intake coordinators give you a call back. They do say on the window period that to allow 48 hours. So that was really neat to find out while doing this presentation. So this is just a nice overview of what it looks like for the process. It's within 45 days, the timeline. As you can see, it's the region, you contact the regional center. You do have to sign a consent form. Then there's eligibility and needs assessments. If eligible, you establish that in family support plan. Again, that's when you want to, write the goals that you want your child to accomplish. And the goals could go, I try to recommend parents to, it's depending on the need, but to be very specific on the goals, because you want them to be attainable. So if you go ahead and have a big goal, for example, like my son will, or my daughter will speak 5 words, for example, by age 2 or 2.5, then what is those 5 words? What are they like? What does that mean? Like or 5 communicate. Maybe words is not the right one. 5 communication signs or whatever. So there's different ways of communicating. So what does that look like? That's basically it. The words wasn't a good example, but you guys get my drift. And then the services begin. Okay. The Lanterman intake process, it's a little, their timeline is a little different. Once you call and you do a referral, they have 15 working days. So this is when you've already have established like a disability or a disability. So I have 15, you submit all the documents that they ask you fill out the consents. Since they already have a disability, they really review the case. And since you have to review so much, it takes about 60 days. Normally it's 60 days. It's case by case, but for it could go up to 120 days. Once everything is reviewed, you get the IPP and the services get implemented. So it's really important to note that, well, I'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit in upcoming slides, that Inland Regional is payer of last resort under the Lanterman Act. So for, I mean, under Early Start and Lanterman Act, but they would want you to go ahead and access all the generic resources. For example, ABA is now funded through Medi-Cal under your insurance. They would want you to go ahead and get denials or whatever it is, or get approval from them. And if they deny it, then and there's a need, then they'll go ahead and provide that service. Versus Early Start, they don't need, they still try pushing that agenda of, get the services through the generic resources, but if the child needs it, they provide it. There's no waiting period for the denial. If there's a need, they provide it. So that's a cool thing about early intervention, that they really want to go ahead and make sure that the child, reaches their full potential. So that was really neat to learn throughout this whole process. So the stages in life, birth to age 2 is early intervention. Get started. This is through the educational system. Again, this is usually through like the Head Start programs. Sometimes they have specialty programs that they have for early intervention. Usually they partner up with regional center or provide support, like teachers. Usually the teacher goes to the home once a week for like an hour. So again, it's special early interventions 3 to 4. This is when I explain the transition. Once they reach 3, they really do transition the client to the school district. And then once they reach 5, it's full blown the educational system. For regional center, you have Early Start, the eligibility for Lanterman. Again, I explained the 3 different areas of the Lanterman. Early Start, you could get services. You don't necessarily have to be Lanterman. You just have to have a delay. Lanterman services, it could be umbrella, all over 0 to 3 or in continuous, meaning, or you could get identified with qualifying with Lanterman Act services after the age of 5. Okay. So yeah. So how to prepare for your IFSP. So there's a bunch of literature, and I just put websites on there for your review, because there's different guides. And you see, what I've learned throughout this whole process is that parents, I might have a different need than other family members. And so once I go and I say, oh, well, your son needs this and this and that, they might find it not important enough. Like, for example, going to the toilet, I would want them to communicate first. So for example, I'm not saying that I would do it, but maybe the parents were like, no, I would like to just focus on adaptive skills. So that's it's very important for you guys to identify what is your priorities for your child and advocate for that. And that's why the resources there of how to prepare. They have questions for you. One question is that really stood out for me is what would you see, because they're very vague like that. What would you like to see your child do in the next 3 years or something like that? So you want to go ahead and just make sure you prepare, and once you establish those goals, see if they can be attainable by breaking it down, see how they can be accomplished. So finalizing the IEP, we all know, you guys are all very smart. The conversations that you've been having with Ms. Beth, I'm sorry. let me know that you guys are very well informed and very and use your resources quite a bit. But you know, if you guys don't agree, don't sign it. Just, you know, to say disagree or I disagree. Don't wait. It is very intimidating. I know in the very beginning, I was really scared to say like, oh no, okay, I'll just get what you give me. And it was just respite. I didn't know that my son could go ahead and have social rec or go to camping and things of that nature. So he suffered a great deal in his social skills because I wasn't aggressive, or not aggressive, just well informed of what services I can get for him. So later on I found out, and well, now it's like, thankfully they're all back in place, but I just don't want you guys to get intimidated by the process. Really find out and dive in to what services out there. And it is important that goals are identified. To the goals that you outline really drives the services that you get for your child. So just be very careful when it comes to that. The service coordinator, you do have to find a service coordinator that you're going to work well with, because they're your partner in trying to achieve the programs. If the program is not working, try to find out something else. And if that's not working, then you have the right to change your service coordinator. So the Inland Regional Center services that you usually qualify for under Early Start are the durable medical equipment, behavior management, home health support, infant development services, medical specialists, respite, that's in or out of the home, parent coordinator services, speech, OT, well, all is identified here. The one thing that I did not put on these slides is that you also could qualify for a waiver that I believe it's a Medi-Cal deem waiver that could potentially later on qualify you for, like, because it doesn't go by income. All these services, they shouldn't. None of the eligibility criteria is based on your income or any immigrational status. So that's a good thing to know also. But the form that I'm talking about is later on in life, if your child needs a lot more services in home, where they need assistance to go to the bathroom, or they have a different meal plan, you could potentially qualify through an IHSS. For IHSS, IHSS does go through your income, but with the because it's funded through Medi-Cal, but through the Medi-Cal waiver, you can go ahead and have a door open for you through that, because it does not go to your, it doesn't account the family's income. So that's one of the things I didn't put here, and that's throughout this whole process. So the Lanterman services, the 3 to 17 years old, is everything from Early Start up to all of this. The residential care homes, social recreational services, they got reinstated. Ms. Beth, can you remind me of exactly when? It was just recently, to 2017 or something like that, for social recreational services.
Social rec was reinstated in 2021, and it became effective last year, 2022.
2022. Yeah, so they were they took, because of the budget cuts and everything, they removed that service from us. They even reduced the respite hours, but now it got reinstated. So it's good to know that this program is available out there. So requesting for services, it's very important to know that the workers at Regional Center are still in a hybrid model. Sometimes they work from home, and sometimes they go to the office. So any communication that any request or any communication you do, I recommend you do it in writing, through emails, it's just easier to keep paper trails, and then go back to see, you know, if you requested or what they said, for what you requested, you know. Talking about the social recreational directives, there's been there hasn't been a lot of programs that have vendorized with a regional center. They're having a really hard time finding those vendors or the vendors applying with them. But the recreational directive is identified as any opportunity that allows our clients to access public recreational activities for the purpose of developing and enhancing meaningful interpersonal relationships. So that's all like the social skills. If you want to go to the movies, things of that nature, that integrates them into society, would be something you would want to consider for this. So services that would be considered for funding would be YMCA, gym classes, dining out, or family outings. I had a family tell me that asked me that if Disneyland, the membership for Disneyland was going to be something covered. And it's important to note that even though these are considered for funding, it's only up to a certain amount. So let me explain. The stipend use is subject to IRC approval. The stipend is $100 reimbursement. So let's say you go ahead and you register your son. Let's just use the analogy of the Disneyland ticket. You could go ahead and submit the receipt that you paid, the monthly fee. But if approved, they only give you $100 a month, and it's up to $1,000 to $1,200 a year. That doesn't mean that they're going to give you this lump sum. So, for example, if you buy the Disneyland ticket and you do the membership, and it doesn't get processed until 2 months later, or it doesn't get approved until 2 months later, they're only going to give you that. From that point on, they're going to give you $100. They're not going to back pay you. They're not going to give you future. Like you said, if you do the advance payment, they're not going to give you the advance payment. So it's every month. So you do have to submit your receipts for that. For more information, is that the link is right here at the bottom. Oh, wow. I was so nervous that I skipped everything. Oh, no, I'm done.
You're going quickly. We have a couple questions. So one of the questions is income considered for social rec?
No.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You just have to have a goal, an IPP goal, and the caseworker can help you with that.
Yeah, so if you see here, just make sure that the verbiage here that enhances meaningful interpersonal relationships, you want to make sure that you put that their own terminology into their goals, because that helps, you know, facilitate them qualifying you sooner than later. Again, it's back to using the terminology, their own terminology.
Another question, I've been waiting since March to get services. Despite having an IEP at school and an autism diagnosis, they said they need another 4 to 6 weeks because his eligibility is recommended for further evaluation.
Okay, so for those services, I mean, for that, I have heard of situations where their child, regional center sees their child, even though they have an autism diagnosis, it usually falls under Asperger's. Oh my God, Asperger's. I'm hungry. Sorry, guys. Asperger's syndrome, and Asperger's is not a qualifying factor under regional center. But I don't know what advice do you have, Ms. Beth, in those situations? Because for me, we appeal process, you know.
Yeah, and I will say that quite frankly, we're also looking at this issue, not just at Inland, but I'm getting contacted from other regional centers. One of the issues is Inland is requiring a specific test. It's a ADOS test, which a lot of medical doctors don't do right now. And when that doesn't happen, even if you do have records from the school district, they're wanting that particular test. So it's something that we're taking to the state to determine, you know, when one medical service says, you know, this is all we're paying for, but regional centers are saying, well, we want a specific test, but they're not willing to fund it. And there's long wait times, like you're saying, to actually do that assessment. You know, there's a issue with the system. I know that doesn't help you now, but I will just tell you, we know that there's an issue with the system.
Yeah, and there has been changes with the appeal process. I forgot, I put the slide up there. Even if they don't find you, like you said, if they still saying, if they're refusing, like he's not eligible or what have you, you could always go through the appeal process. So if you were receiving services, the good thing is that before you had 10 days to go ahead and submit an appeal, if regional center said, oh, we're not no longer funding this program, you had 10 days to be in the stay put, but now they've extended it to 30 days. So you have 30 days for those services to continue until the appeal is heard. But these are already for the individuals who are receiving the services. Again, you guys could still appeal if you disagree with if your child, if you feel your child is entitled to receiving Lanterman Act services.
Another question is, how long does the regional center have to replace my coordinator? So I am chuckling because they're trying. Last I heard, they were still hiring, I think it was almost 80 caseworkers. They're like everyone else, not just in our systems, but in different systems, their turnover is very high and they're having a really hard time. So their caseload is crazy.
Yeah. So what I would recommend is if you, because it's out of our hands, it's a job, we don't have enough personnel to fulfill those demands. I would recommend you to go ahead and talk to a supervisor. You don't want to go ahead and just be like, okay, I will request, wait 3 months and still not hear anything back from them, or even 3. So I would ask to speak to the supervisor, see what's going on, and at least the supervisor knows what's going on and can be more attentive of making sure that your son or daughter get the services need while they replace the social, well, not the social work, but you know what I mean.
The caseworker, now that's good.
Yeah.
Another question, somebody said that are asking, can they request help for things like movie tickets and outings for my child with social rec?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Can regional center pay for like movie tickets and outings?
Yeah, it has to be approved. Yes, so it has to be approved. So if you feel like going to the movies is something beneficial for him, because he'll learn how to be patient, or how to sit, or things of that nature, of how to be tolerant of noise, or you would. I don't think it would be a problem, but yeah, you should get reimbursed if approved.
We've got a couple other questions about caseworkers changing. This one's changed 5 times in the last 6 months, leading to a significant fall through of services. Is there any recourse for that?
Wow. I think you'll be more subtle than I. I was there, but
It's hard.
Yeah, that one's hard. I don't want to add any more stressors, because people think like, oh yeah, for me it's easy to appeal, but it is exhausting. It is exhausting, emotionally exhausting to go through this whole system. Not only are you caring for your child and stuff, and I get why people think it's intimidated, but they made it easier for you to go ahead and submit concerns and complaints on their website. There's a timeline, a brochure now, and there's a link there on the screen that tells you when they're supposed to be responding. So they're hearing our concerns and they're really trying to meet our demands. It's just, again, we don't have enough personnel to go ahead and ensure that we get it done right,
There's also a new, oh my gosh, what's the name of it? And see, I started talking and I forgot. It is, Ombudsman Office. So there's a brand new Ombudsman Office at DDS. And I'll include that in the email when we send out the slides and the video link. It's another opportunity that if you have concerns, I would still follow the proper channels, because if you try to skip over, unlike schools, they're going to make you go back to regional center. Flora's suggestion about going to the program manager is excellent. And then if that doesn't work, go to the directors, because they truly don't know there's an issue unless people tell them there's an issue. So don't be afraid to go over and just say, I don't have any resources. I've had 5 caseworkers in the last 6 months or whatever it is, and I'm not getting the help I need. And put it back on them so they can really hear what the community is saying.
Yeah.
Somebody said, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just thought of the movie pass. I mean, the movie on my own son, for example. This is a perfect example that he has a hard time with navigating, right? He has really social anxiety. So in order for him to go ahead and get out of that shell, even though the movie is like walking distance, maybe, not that far from here, we have him call like an Uber and things of that nature. And the movie pass is only $25 a month. That gets reimbursed because it's actually helping him navigate the social settings. So that's a good example of how I can get reimbursed, because he is pushing himself to navigate, his surroundings.
That's a great idea. And so, keywords, tell your caseworker, make sure you get an IPP goal. It will be reimbursed. I don't know, Ms. Flora, can you share how long is it taking you to get the reimbursement?
It's taking me, well, the first time it took me three months, but then after that, it did go smooth.
Okay, and that's what I'm hearing as well, is that the first time it'll take a while, but so yeah, you absolutely. So again, up to $100 a month, it's got to be reimbursed, but it will help. They will also cover, somebody else said they're using ABA to help build social skills, which is awesome. One of the other social rec, I guess, services that they could provide is pay for like a coach to attend. The problem right now is there's not enough coaches. So they would say, if you have somebody that could act as a coach, we could pay them.
I wonder what happened with that slide. I think I had it.
You had it in there. I don't know. Well, hopefully it'll go in there.
Yeah.
Somebody just shared, I have a social goal for my son. I just paid for him to take swim lessons. Yes, absolutely. Can I request social rec reimbursement, or do I need to do more steps? I would go back to your caseworker and specifically say, I want you to pay for swim lessons because it's also a safety goal.
Yeah, it is.
And was the coordinator supposed to inform me about the social rec directive? So the answer is yes. But, we all know we can't rely on them to tell us all the services available. So that's why it's important that you guys are here. She had to wait until she was approved. That's why it's important to network and do what you guys are doing, is find outside resources. Oh, somebody else is saying paying for the gym. Yep, out of pocket, absolutely. I just talked to somebody last weekend and they're paying for the gym, so that's great. Yeah, don't do it before you're approved because you will not be reimbursed. So yeah, make sure you've got the got it in there. See, I love that you guys are supporting each other and talking to each other. That's important.
Let me see if I have it. I know you mentioned about the ombudsman before I interrupted you about the ticket. This is what an ombudsman person does. They provide information and assist individuals with regional center and community or community members. So they have this information. The link is also on the bottom of the presentation. But they also provide outreach and information to individuals or groups. So they should help you navigate some of those obstacles that you guys are identifying.
That would be great. Sorry, I'm looking at the other ones. Do you go over IHSS? IHSS would be a whole nother presentation, and actually Flora just put something together. We're going to be putting an IHSS fact sheet out. It should go out either tonight or tomorrow, so that could help you, but we'll definitely keep that in mind for our future presentation. Somebody asked, is there anything besides complaining on a website that we can do to advocate? And we do occasionally, because, you know, we're parents just like all of you guys, so we don't do a lot of call to actions. If we do a call to action, it's because there's something that really can get done. There are times where regional center will do like a purchase of service meeting, or they're calling them listening sessions now. And those are the times to show up and just tell them what you want. You would be surprised. They have, I think they're up to 49,000 clients. And when you go to a listening session, there's less than 10 parents there out of 49,000 clients. The last one I went to, I think there was one client of regional center that was there, and then the rest were family members and a couple of vendors. But when you say something, it does make a difference, because not a lot of people do speak up. Somebody asked about coaching, job coaching. We don't do job coaching right now. We are working on a pilot program on remote employment. We've been working on systems advocacy about trying to help the vendors understand our community and raise their expectation for employment. Sorry, there's another one. Thank you. My son is 2.5 years old. Is there something you guys can direct me into things to look into? I'm new to all of this. Do you have advice for that one, Flora?
I was trying to open up the Q&A. I'm sorry.
That's all right. And I'm going to set out the post test while we're talking. So brand new diagnosis, 2.5 years old. What would you? I
would call, depending on the county that you live in, I would call the number that I shared on the presentation. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'll put it in the chat. Because that would begin the intake process for you to get the services. Since you are 0 to 3, they have 45 days to go ahead and get that started for you. But let me give you that information.
And you can always talk to one of our resource specialists. So Melissa, who usually runs this group, is the one who usually handles the children under 18, and then Liliana, who's doing our translation or interpretation tonight, she usually does adults 18 and older. They'll spend, you know, an hour on the phone with you as well and talk to you about your specific circumstances and, you know, have you thought about school? What are you going to do for school? Do you have childcare issues? What are you doing for social rec? Do you have all the therapy? Are you on waiting list? So they can go through all of that with you as well, because it can be overwhelming, especially in a group setting. So it's kind of nice to be able to have it done one-on-one. Let me see. I know there's a lot of questions. So I'm putting the test. So everyone, please take and post test, and then I will draw 2 names, and we will announce the winners. Did you get all the questions? Oh, resources for lawyers. On our website, we have, it depends what kind of lawyers you have. If you go to ieautism.org, and then it's our resource library, or you could type in attorneys, but we have special ed attorneys and IHSS attorneys and regional center attorneys and special needs trust attorneys. So there's all kinds of attorneys, and we have them in our resource library. Yes, employment is a whole nother, we were, you know, doing the trivia while we were waiting, and, you know, I don't want to end on a sad note, but if I had you guys guess what our unemployment rate is for our autism community, what would you guess, Miss Flora? Do you know? Here in California. Take a guess.
I think we have a smarter audience than I on that one.
Our unemployment rate is 80% for adults with autism. So employment is a whole nother issue that we're working on.
That's I would have said, like, I was thinking 90 because of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is 90. Brina asked, does anybody know how to do a diaper reimbursement form? I'm requesting help with my diapers as my insurance doesn't cover it. I have to fill out a 26-page form, and it's only good for $150 a year.
Wow. I know I wish I could tell you yes for the regional center, but I know of other nonprofits that can help with purchasing diapers for you. If God, I don't have them on the top of my head, but I'm gonna put my information on the chat for you guys to go ahead and feel free to call me, because I definitely do better one-on-one talking than presenting. I'm all over the place because I don't know what to talk about. If you guys ask me direct questions and I can have a one-on-one conversation with you, I promise you I'll be better. But here is my number, and you can call me, and I'll have a list of the nonprofits that could potentially help you with some of the purchases for the diapers.
It looks like our post-tests are not working, so I'm gonna draw names from our pre-test. All right, thanks, Rena, for letting us know. So I don't know why it's not working. So let's draw, drum roll, please. Oh, it is working. We have 14 post-tests. Yeah, we have 14 post-tests, so it is working.
Ms. Gloria, I don't know if we answered your question. I was informed today that the school does not cover audio processing therapy. If your child has a diagnosis, if you have an autism diagnosis, is that true? No.
Short answer.
Yeah, short answer, because I don't know the details of your case. Like I said, call me, we'll have a conversation. But no. Do I go over it? I says yes, but it's a different presentation actually. Ooh, there's a question that I'm not sure if we answered, and I'm not sure if this is probably more advanced in your area. After you have the IRC meeting, how long should it take to get IPP or CDER? What is a CDER?
CEDAR, an IPP or your CEDAR. So that's the form that they fill out.
Okay then. Yeah, so usually it takes 60 days, like I said in the presentation. It's 45 days for early start and 60 to 120 days for depending on the case, on the client. Mhm.
Okay, Miss Flora, can you pick a number between 1 and 15?
Ooh. Let's do 8. A nice even number.
That's Christine. I'm going to just say O. So Christine O, congratulations, you won a $25 gift card. And can you do one more?
I'm just gonna do even numbers today. 14.
Refresh just to make sure. And that is Blanca. So Blanca, congratulations. So we'll confirm your emails and then we'll get those gift cards out to you. Well, thank you, everybody. I know we went a little bit over. It's a lot of information, and thank you, Flora, for putting it together, all that great information. Nicolette just asked, can a person receive any services from Regional Center if they were diagnosed as an adult? And the answer is yes, but you would need to prove that according to their terms, a disability occurred before the age of 18. And that's one of the issues we've had with individuals that are in 40s or 50s, that they don't have any school records showing that anybody suspected anything or even know who the pediatrician was. So it is possible. Thank you, everybody. While we worked out all the many kinks and technical issues, we appreciate it. We hope you have a wonderful evening. We'll look just to see what future comments were about presentations, and Melissa should be back next month. So thank you all. Stay safe. Have a great summer. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.